Verb forms. Tense. Tense is one of the most confusing and confused terms in English grammar. Part of the confusion is that tense refers, often quite inconsistently, either to verb form or to verb meaning. We will keep the two ways of looking at verbs, form and meaning, separate. A metaphor for chemistry may or may not be helpful here. Think of verb forms as the 6 basic elements that make up the verbal system. Some of these 6 basic elements can stand alone as meaningful verb expressions. Others can only exist when combined with another basic element in a sort of verb molecule. For example, what traditional grammar calls the future tense is such a molecule. Here is an example of a sentence containing a future tense in italics. I will go to the grocery store on my way home. The future actually consists of 2 elementary verb components, will, a present tense form, and go, a base form. Grammar trivia. The irregular past of past tense. At one time, all verbs in Western languages were irregular, having various ways to indicate tense in other matters. Sometime in the prehistory of Germanic languages, a new way of creating the past tense developed, adding t, d, or ed to the base form. Eventually, the new ending spread to become the norm for all verbs, except historically well-established irregular verbs, swim, swam, and hang, hung. We begin by looking first at verb forms and then turn to how these forms are used to create meaning. Verb forms. All verbs, with the exception of modal verbs, which will be discussed a little later, have 6 different forms. The 6 forms are listed here and illustrated by the regular verb walk and the irregular verb swim. Base present, past, infinitive, present participle, past participle. Base present, walk, walk, walks. Past, walked. Infinitive, to walk. Present participle, walking. Past participle, walked. Swim. Base present, swim, swims. Past, swam. Infinitive, to swim. Present participle, swimming. Past participle, swum. Base form. The base form is the dictionary entry form of the verb. For example, if you looked up the past for swam in the dictionary would refer you to the base form swim. At first, it may seem difficult to tell base forms from present forms because nearly all cases they are identical. However, there is one verb whose base form is completely different from its present form. The verb be. Base, be. Present, I am. You are. He, she, it is. We, you, they are. We can use the fact that the base form of be is different from all its present forms to determine when base forms are used. There are 2 quite common places where the base form is used. 1, in imperative sentences, and 2, in the future tense. Here are some examples of imperative sentences, verbs in italics. Go away. Oh, stop that. Answer the question. When we use the verb be in imperative sentences, we can see that the base form is used. Be good. Be prepared. Be careful what you wish for. If we attempt to use any present form of be, the results are clearly ungrammatical. Are good, is good, am good. The future tense is formed by using the verb followed by a verb in its base form. Here are some examples of future tenses, base forms in italics. We will walk to the restaurant. The kids will swim in the pool this afternoon. We can show that the verbs following will are in the base form by again using the verb be. Santa will be upset with Rudolph again. Present forms of be are impossible after will. Santa will are upset with Rudolph again. Santa Will is upset with Rudolph again. Present form. With the exception of the verb be, the present is formed in the following manner. Third person singular equals base plus s. All other persons and numbers equals base. For example, third person singular, he, she, it walks, swims. All other persons and numbers walk, swim. As noted, the verb be follows a completely different pattern in the present form. Past form. There are two ways of forming the past, regular and irregular. The regular verbs form their past by adding ed or d to the base form. Base form, past form. Base form, pass, past form, past. Base form, cough, past form, coughed. Base form, smile, past form, smiled. Originally, all irregular verbs form the past by using a different vowel sound in the past form from the vowel used in the base form. A number of verbs still preserve this ancient way. Base form, past form. Base form, dig, past form, dug. Base form, freeze, past form, froze. Base form, ring, past form, rang. Base form, see, past form, saw. Some irregular verbs became hybrids by keeping their historical vowel changes but adding the regular verb ed or d ending. Base form, past form. Base form, sell, past form, sold. Base form, tell, past form, told. Some verbs have a vowel change but add t rather than ed or d. Base form, keep, past form, kept. Base form, think, past form, thought. Some one-syllable verbs that end in t or d have a past that is exactly the same as the base or present form. For example, here's the verb put, first used in the present form and then in the past. Present. I always put suntan lotion on when I go out. Past. I put suntan lotion on yesterday, but I still got burned. Here are more examples of the verbs that follow this pattern. Base form, bet, past form, bet. Base form, cost, past form, cost. Base form, rid, past form, rid. Base form, shut, past form, shut. A few verbs have remarkably irregular past forms. The verbs go and be share a peculiar feature. Their past forms come from completely different words than their base form comes from. The past of go is went. Went is related historically, not to the verb go, but to the verb wander. And now, rare verb wind, as in to wend one's way. Likewise, was and were, the past forms of the verb be, are from a verb historically unrelated to be. Was and were are doubly exceptional in that they are the only past forms that change to agree with the subject. I, he, she, it, was. We, you, both singular and plural, they, were. Grammar trivia, splitting the infinitive. An infinitive is to plus verb, as in we need to admit our mistakes. A split infinitive occurs when an adverb is inserted immediately after the word to. We need to always admit our mistakes. While few style guides consider split infinitives to be truly ungrammatical, some suggest that they are too casual for formal writing. Infinitive form, the infinitive is also completely regular. It consists of to plus the base form. Here are some examples. Base form, answer, infinitive, to answer. Base form, go, infinitive, to go. Base form, be, infinitive, to be. Present participle form. The present participle is completely regular in that all present participles are formed by adding ing onto the base form. Here are some examples. Base form, talk, present participle, talking. Base form, be, present participle, being. Base form, sing, present participle, singing. However, the rules of spelling sometimes cause the present participle to be spelled differently than the base form. For example, the double consonant rule will apply to some base forms ending in a single consonant, as seen in hit, hitting, hop, hopping. Past participle form. There are two kinds of past participles, regular and irregular. Regular past participles are formed by adding ed or d to the base form, just the same way that regular past forms are. The past and past participles of regular verbs are thus identical. Past form, snored, past participle, snored. Past form, shouted, past participle form, shouted. Past form, laughed, past participle form, laughed. So how can we tell past verb forms from past participles? Only by the way they are used. Past verb forms are always used by themselves. Past participles can only be used after the helping verbs have or be in some form. For example, past in italics, we reported the accident promptly. Past participle in italics, we had reported the accident as soon as it happened. The accident was reported as soon as it happened. When we use irregular verbs in similar sentences, we can see overt differences between the past and the past participles. Past in italics, we saw the accident. Past participle in italics, we had seen the accident on our way in. The accident was seen by everybody. The past participle of irregular verbs historically ended in en or in. Many past participles preserve this old pattern, some without a vowel change, some with a vowel change. Base form fall, past participle fallen. Base form see, past participle seen. Base form freeze, past participle frozen. Base form be, past participle been. Other irregular verbs have lost the en or n and form the past participle in a variety of other ways. Base form tell, past participle told. Base form have, past participle had. Base form bring, past participle brought. The same group of one-syllable verbs ending in d or t, whose past forms are identical to the base form, also have past participles that do not change. That is, their past participle form is the same as their base and past forms. Base form, past participle form. Base form hit, past participle form hit. Base form rid, past form rid, past participle form rid. Base form put, past participle form put. Modal verbs. Finally, there is an exceptional group of 5 verbs called modals that doesn't follow any of the patterns already discussed. For complicated historical reasons, the modals do not have the full range of verb forms. Accordingly, they are sometimes called defective verbs. They have both present and past forms. Most of them do anyway, but nothing else. Modals have no base forms, no infinitive forms, no present participle forms, and no past participle forms. Here are the present and past forms of the 5 modals. Present form, can, past form, could, present form, may, past form, might, present form, must. Present form, shall, past form, should, present form, will, past form, would. The present forms are themselves highly unusual in that they have no third-person singular s. For example, we can say, he can go, she will leave, but not he cans go, she wills leave. Trivia item. Notice that must has no past form. It is the only verb in English to have a present form but no past form. Modals are helping verbs. They are quite limited in how they can be used. Modals can never be used alone. They can only be used in combination with the following verb in the base form. For example, modals in italics, base verbs in bold. You can do it. They must be careful. You should know better. Grammar trivia, why no S? The modal verbs can, may, must, shall, and will are the only verbs that do not use an S for the third person singular. We do not say he cans go or the plane must be late. The reason is historical. Although these verbs appear to have a present time, meaning today, they are actually in the past tense verb form. Because of their past tense forms, they are incompatible with the present tense third person S. Using verb forms to create meaning. In traditional grammar, English is said to have 6 tenses. In traditional grammar, there are 3 simple tenses, present, past, and future, and 3 perfect tenses, present perfect, past perfect, and future perfect. Here are the 6 tenses with examples. Simple tenses, present tense, I walk, I swim. Perfect tenses, present perfect tense, I have walked, I have swum. Simple tenses, past tense, I walked, I swam. Perfect tenses, past perfect tense, I had walked, I had swum. Simple tenses, future tense, I will walk, I will swim. Perfect tenses, future perfect tense, I will have walked, I will have swum. We will now discuss in a little more detail how the 6 tenses are built and what they mean. Simple tenses. The simple tenses are not called simple because they are easy. Historically, the term simple was used to distinguish the meaning of the 3 simple tenses from the 3 perfect tenses. The simple tenses generally refer to actions that take place at a single moment in time, at the present time, at a past moment in time, or at a future moment in time. The 3 perfect tenses, on the other hand, deal with actions that span a period of time. Present tense. The present tense is the present form of a verb. Despite its name, the present tense form of verbs does not really mean present time. In fact, most action verbs actually sound rather odd when used in the present tense. For example, I walk now, I run now. If we want to talk about something happening at the present moment, we do not use the present tense at all. Instead, we use what is called the progressive, described in more detail later. I am walking now. I am running now. There are 2 main uses of the present tense. 1, to make statements of fact, and 2, to make generalizations. Here are some examples of statements of fact and generalizations. Present tense verbs in italics. Statement of fact. 2 + 2 = 4. Gold dissolves in mercury. Annapolis is the capital of Maryland. Generalizations. Liver is disgusting. The new Lexus is the best looking car on the road. Fast food restaurants exploit their employees. I shop at Safeway. Notice the last example. I shop at Safeway. We often use the present tense for generalizations about habitual actions. When we say, I shop at Safeway, it does not mean that I am in the process of shopping at Safeway at this moment. It means that it is my custom to shop at Safeway. The sentence is still valid even if I have not stepped foot inside a Safeway store in weeks. Both statements of fact and generalizations are essentially timeless. Statements of fact sound particularly odd if they are tied to a particular moment. For example, 2 + 2 is 4 now. Makes it sound as though this fact is only temporary. Tomorrow, 2 + 2 might be something else. Even statements that are not universally true are still true for an indefinite period of time. For example, the statement, I hate liver, implies that this statement is valid for the foreseeable future. One consequence of the fact is that English reserves the use of the present tense for timeless statements of facts and generalizations in technical and scientific writing, which is primarily concerned with the statements of facts and generalizations, and normally is written in the present tense. Past tense. The past tense is the past form of the verb. The past tense, obviously, is used to describe events that took place in past time. However, there is more to the use of the past tense than this statement would imply. Because the present tense is preempted for making timeless statements of fact and generalizations, the past tense becomes the primary vehicle for all narration that deals with the time-bounded events. For this reason, Nearly all stories and novels are written in the past tense.